two things you said. Earlier you said one. You said how your music teacher told you should give up your dreams and stop it right there. And then you also mentioned how these kids lose hope or lose faith, and that's what a lot of youth are facing. And then you also mentioned that you were in a community that wouldn't allow you to engage some of these things. You were in a community, this specific community that rejected the notion of you being in the hood, the notion of you carrying out certain behavior, or acting a certain way, or valuing yourself less than what you were worth. And in the ideal world, in a great place, you got a lot more communities that reject, a young kid that's trying to find family, so he joined gangs, or a young person that says, I don't care about school, so I just do my own thing, or because a lot of communities like, white or black, any ethnicity or race, they get swallowed up in that, finding themselves, and start from places like maybe not having a 2-parent household, start from places like having dysfunction in the household with 2 parents. I
was blessed to have a village. I was really blessed to have a village. My town has a lot. Where I went to high school had a lot of racism going on. There was a lot of we had predominantly.
I watched the movie Amityville.
Yeah, Amityville Horror.
Actually, not one brother, and they made 4 remakes.
So
they ain't one black
it's
person
crazy. In that area where the movie was filmed, to this day, there's still no black people.
Yeah,
that whole area is white.
They shot 4 films.
Ain't not one black person in there.
That's 10 hours worth of movie.
The saddest part is the movie is casted. That's the saddest part. They could have chose any one black person.
They could have chose. And my thing is, you go 5 minutes down the street, there's bullet holes in houses, churches that aren't fixed up, no sidewalks. It's so bad, but I was blessed to be one of those students that I could speak to all the masses. I could speak to all groups. So I was able to build a black community within Amityville that was like, okay, this dude could potentially do something. So we're going to back him up, whatever we got to do. And, it goes back to, my poem. They would catch me doing some of the stupid stuff I would do just to get acknowledgement from the hood. And it got to a point where even the big homies and the people who ran the streets would look at me like, bro, like, what are you doing? Stop acting stupid.
Right.
They would look at me like, bro, like, we understand you can do this, but your purpose is much higher than these streets. Yeah. And that then carried with me to this day, because now I go back and the same respect and esteem I get from mayors and congressmen and assemblywomen is the same respect I get from big homies, from people who run the block and stuff like that. I could go on any street and still be able to preach my knowledge to everybody, because it's like, I think at one point they was calling me like Hood Fave, or they was calling me like Hood Prez, because they was so proud to say that this dude came from these blocks and now is doing so much. And I say all of this to say, it goes back to that look of perception. You gotta come back to where you're at, using the tools of what you had growing up. People look down on a single parent household. Actually, I came from a household that had 2 parents and then one of them left. But I used that push to now say, okay, I know when I get into the future, when I have a child, first off, I got to be there for my child, but I also got to teach them how to be independent, how to take care of their family just in case something happens. I came from a place where it was a lot of drugs, a lot of drug activity, a lot of gang activity. So it taught me a sense of loyalty. It taught me a sense of, pride in who you are and what you represent. But it also taught me, like, there's other outlets rather than, drugs and the gang life. Where I grew up was a lot of racism. So it taught me, okay, in this space, you can speak this way, but once you get in front of this space, you can't say it. One thing I had in high school, I had diarrhea of the mouth. So like it was, if you got
Can you explain that?
So I didn't have a filter. So I was one of the
what you want, how you want, whenever you want.
I was one of those students.
Potty mouth.
I wouldn't even say I was a potty mouth. It was just like I was the type of student that would read the handbook, so that if I got in trouble, I knew exactly how to get in trouble, so that I wouldn't get in trouble.
Yeah,
so
like you can finesse. I did that when I was standing Purdue. I said, so you gonna tell me I'm in trouble, but you violated this to even find out that I was even in trouble?
Yeah, so like, that was the type of student I was. So I was. It got to a point. One of my mentors from back home, Mr. Gerald Asbell, he told me one day. He said, "You got these teachers riled up." I think it was my senior year of high school. I said, "What you mean?" He said he was in the teachers' lounge, and one of the teachers was new, and he was going down the list of students, to look out for. And this new teacher said, "Oh, I met this student named Kyle. Kyle," and they were like, "Kyle Austin? Oh God." And he's listening. He's ear hustling low key. He's like, pretty much the older teacher said, he's a good dude, but watch out because you can't have any disciplinary things on the college tour. And my coach pulled me aside. He said, you have 4 suspensions on your record.
Like ever?
Like
like that year.
It was there was like 1 that year. It was a couple of years before. This is high school. And he was like, you got 4 on your record, and this is just high school. Then I had like 3 from elementary school, 2 from middle school. And he was like
that far back for a field trip.
So that's what I was. That was my thought. Like, why y'all looking so far back to elementary? And they said pretty much what my track coach told me. He was like, they know who you are, and they are looking for any way to break you down. So he ended up giving me a loophole that I could get my whole record cleared because one of those times I got suspended was not logged correctly. So everything, they cleared my whole record. They were like, because they did the runaround and stuff like that. And he said, look, I helped you this one time. At this point, you can no longer get in trouble or you will be like suspended indefinitely or even expelled. Mm-hmm. So at that point, I had to really sit down and take inventory and was like, how can I now express myself and how I feel and express myself for the people behind me in a sense where everybody could still listen and everything will still be okay. So I had to build up my vocabulary. I had to learn a new group of sayings and ways to address certain things that I wanted done. I had to follow chain of command rather than just busting in somebody's office. I had to learn real quick how to adapt to modern society. And it made me realize 2 things. It made me realize, one, that modern society is not made for me. As long as your skin is darker than that paper bag and your hair is curly and your nose is big and your lips is big and it's not made for you. But it also made me realize that if there is a will, there is a way. Mm-hmm. Because I promise you, if I go back to my high school to this day, the administration hates me. They do. But they respect me. I walk in that school, I know exactly who to talk to get what, how to get where. There's nothing that they could say that would break me down. They can't say, oh, this alum just keeps coming back and he's not doing nothing. Because every time I come back, I come back and I'm teaching a class. So I'm coming back and I'm speaking on a panel or something like that. I'm doing something helpful for the school. Any opportunities that I have for students at that school, I give it to them. Whether it be scholarship opportunities, I know somebody at Morehouse that's trying to do this, that, and the third. I'm going to plug you in with them. It's just like, y'all going to stop laughing at my eyes. So it's just like, you have to really grow up. You got to grow up. And, I believe I speak for Drayshawn. Probably yourself. When you're a face of a community, mm-hmm. you got to grow up pretty fast. Being black men, we got to grow up fast. Period. And then being a face of a community, being somebody that people look up to, a voice for the people. All eyes are on you. The pressure. All eyes are on you. At any point in time, you could go DJ. Somebody gonna have a camera in your face. Sure. At any point in time, you go speak. Somebody gonna have a camera in your face, or they're gonna be like, "Oh, Noah said this. Noah said that. Noah said this." At any point in time, I could go say a poem, I could play an instrument, and they'll be like, oh, Kyle does this and the third. So, knowing that we are people for the people, we have to grow up and realize that sometimes we have to put our own emotions and our own feelings to the side for the rest of the people.
Aside of just growing up, I think it just requires us really to make better decisions and more wholesome decisions, if that makes sense. Really just being inclusive. I'm just really bouncing off what you were saying. Because, it does require us to grow up fast, but I think the idea of growing up fast encompasses a lot more. It's a lot more than what needs to be included within the terms of representing the community. But I would definitely say it definitely requires you to make better decisions and more inclusive decisions for sure, because you're representing not only yourself but the others as well. So yeah, no, that was actually a dope point.
Yeah, man. Y'all definitely spent a lot of wisdom, man. Y'all definitely. I'm just kind of like, like I said, it's an amazing thing to share stories, but it's also an amazing thing to listen. And I definitely think, and I know for a fact, people that are listening or people that y'all decide to share this with, will get a lot of wisdom and get a lot of insight from, not just who you are as a person, but who you're growing to be as the man and what you represent for so many others. So man, I definitely appreciate y'all, man. This is kind of cool that, the first podcast we're doing like this is y'all two, and how we tied a lot of the coincidences and similarities in together, and how y'all were just able to, like I said, share the wisdom and share the knowledge y'all have and experiences, and do it so free flowing and naturally. And I know y'all saw the list of questions and stuff like that, and we really didn't reference any of it. It was literally just straight, yeah, free fall.
So one thing you spoke on was you don't want your legacy to die out at Morehouse. So me and Drayshawn already spoke about how we about to do a podcast, so we about to ask you a question. Nice. So I'm actually very interested to see, like, if you could leave, if somebody was to have a piece of paper and they say whatever you put on this paper will be memorialized in King Chapel from Noah McQueen, what are you putting down in?
It's a quote. It's a challenge. It's a question.
It's whatever you want it to be. It could be your story. It could be a quote. It could be a scripture. It could be words of wisdom. Whatever you want to leave behind. When people think of Noah McQueen, you don't want them to think Noah McQueen, the one that knows Obama. Noah McQueen. We want to know Noah McQueen, and this is what you want to leave behind. This is what you want. This is your legacy. What would you put?
Okay, if it's a long letter, I'm doing, and it's kind of funny that you asked me that, because I just started writing down some of my favorite quotes, like personally, because I have to read them every day to just remind myself about, what you stand for, how you represent yourself. If it's a long letter, I'm putting it to I'm putting it right there at that open space in King Chapel, like right, get my own little wall going, and always right back to Matthew 5:16. It says, "Let your light shine so that people see your good works and glorify your Father which is in heaven." That is by far my favorite quote, my favorite Bible verse. And then one that I always use is it's a marathon, not a sprint. It's short, it's sweet, but if you look at what that says and what that attests to. I don't really like the story of the tortoise and the hare, but the marathon, opposed to a sprint, is one of the things. So if you look at life, and you look at the highs and lows, you look at the beauty as well as the pitfalls, and you look at the where you can be in life, and where you came from, and where you're trying to go, and that present moment that you are in. You're kind of this being in time that's trying to make an understanding of things that you haven't yet experienced, as well as taking what you experienced and rationalize the way you view life in a way that can help you deal with your day-to-day life. But it's so crazy because and I always use the example that I'm traveling a little bit more, that I can use an example like, okay, I'm here in the South, in Georgia, in Atlanta, in North America, or in the United States and North America, but it's 7 continents, so many different countries, so many different things going on in each of these villages. Like, I know what's going on in my community, and I'm like, there's so many people who don't ever get a chance to think outside of them and beyond what they have experienced and what they know, to expand the grasp of just life. And as of right now, we're sitting in Reverend Lowry's institute, and you can just look around, you can just see the impact his life has had on so many. And the brother's still alive, and he's still impacting lives. In his late 90s, he I'm reading this book now. Just I'm finishing up this book. Called What's Worthwhile, and one of the questions they ask is, are you living a life worth living? And that's a charge that you get from Mays. That's a charge that you get from brothers like Reverend Lowry, or that's a charge that you get from the life of Dr. King. And it's kind of one of them things like, that's a charge that we should be giving to ourselves and each other, and empowering each other, and seriously asking the question like, it was the one you just asked me right now. You have to stop. Everything just stops, and what you have done up until this point, is that enough? And are you satisfied with saying, presenting yourself in front of, whoever you believe that this is, what I've given to you. This is this is the legacy I've left in my life. So,
same question. Wall in King Chapel. It says, from. What's the body gonna say? What would you want your legacy and your impact? What would you want people to know you by when they look up at that wall? They're like, wow, I want to be like Drayshawn Spearman. What do you want that to say?
Since we dropping gems, my favorite quote and the thing that I really try to live by, and I really try to like guide both myself and others by, is a very, very important quote to me by John Maxwell. Leaders become great not because of their power, but because of their ability to empower others. I'm saying it one more time because I stumbled. Leaders become great not because of their power, but because of their abilities to empower others. I think that's what it's all about. You know what I'm saying? It's not. I can sit here and tell you all day long about what I've done and what I can do, but if it isn't helping anybody else, if it isn't making anybody else day better, or if it isn't empowering somebody else to do something better than what I've done, or to help them get to a point to where they're trying to get to, that they feel is that they idolize, you know what I'm saying? Because of, where they've been throughout their lives. Like, I really feel like, everything I do, I try to do it intentionally. You know what I'm saying? Something that's going to leave something behind to leave somebody else better. And I've just devoted myself to that quote, you know what I'm saying? Like, really live by that quote. Like, if you really aren't pouring back into anybody, then what is your purpose? How have you been effective? You know what I'm saying? And then now this year, changing my major to sociology, it's definitely expanded my views on these types of things, because everything that you do involves people. Your family is people. You know what I'm saying? So it's just like, how are you making the next person a better person? Because it's that person that's going to go out and make the change in the world that might, be the next policy or the next big thing that, opens up something different that we've never seen before. You know what I'm saying? So it's just like, you never really know who you're dealing with, or, what it is that this person could have been through, that this person aspires to do. You know what I'm saying? But regardless of what I do, every interaction I'm trying to pour into somebody, if it isn't nothing but leaving a simple compliment. Hey, I like your shirt. Could be the most unattractive person I've seen all day, but I'm not going to, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's not the point. You have a nice shirt on, and you know what I'm saying? You carry yourself well. Like, that's the things that are important to me. I think everything you do
just some good looking walls in King Chapel.
Yeah.
That's straight.
This was dope, man. I definitely appreciate you, Noah.
What you said? You said what about me?
Hold up.
Oh.
You can't ask a question to everybody else.
Well, all right.
This is great. So
Share yours.
So I have 3 things that I would probably leave, because anybody can write a novel, but you want to write things and you want to put things that people are going to hold with them. One of the things, and of course, it's from the Most High, but it's something that my grandmother used to tell me all the time. For I know the plans I have for you, saith the Lord. Because it's very easy for you to walk through your path and, be like, nobody got me. I don't know what I have. Yet God has ordered our steps before we even walk them. So that's one.
It scares some people.
It scares people, but yeah. Another one is another verse. When I was a child, I thought as a child. I moved as a child. I thought as a child. When I became a man, I put all childish things behind me. And
that's actually new. I've never heard that. That's lit.
A word. I want to say. I please, if my mother is hearing this, I'm sorry. I believe it's 1 Corinthians 13:11.
That's lit.
I believe so, but that's always been one of my favorite verses. It was actually in the first time I saw it. It was in the credits of a football movie. It was called Gridiron Gang.
With The Rock.
with The Rock and all of them, and it was the jail people playing football.
The jail people.
Yeah, and I read it, and I was like, wow, like that's monumental.
Your mama gonna
What's 13:11? What's first?
you said 13?
What's First Corinthians 13? 13:11.
13. I can't even see 11. Right there. When I was a child, I talked about that.
Stop playing with me. Stop playing. I know what I'm talking about.
Fact check.
Fact check. Stop playing. Nah, and then
Nervous was like,
I did get nervous. And then my third thing would just be find somebody and have a conversation. Just find somebody and have a conversation.
I like it, man. Well, I appreciate y'all for sitting down and having this conversation, man. Taking time out your day.